Hi everybody, I'm Jamie Cormier. I'm 33 years old today, May 5th. I'm from Louisiana and I'm not what you typically think of when you think of a Southern belle. Southern belles are prim, proper, beautiful, graceful, and respectful. I have multiple disabilities and a mouth on me that can make even a sailor blush. I'm from the area of Louisiana known as Cajun country, and I am a raging Cajun through and through. Don't get on my bad side, LOL. Other than that, I am pretty much a typical young adult, aside from the chronic daily pain due to my disabilities that I have to sometimes push through when it's not too severe. I did the college thing, tried the love thing twice, and it bombed both times. Well, college didn't. I just got burnt out. Basically, I'm just living life day to day and trying to figure out this thing called life. My life is a roller coaster of emotions, chaos, and it's hard to really explain without starting at the beginning. I guess you could say all my problems started in utero, although that is Mom's burden and story to tell. First off, her having a miscarriage prior to becoming pregnant with me, and then her having to be put on bed rest 5 months pregnant, and she had a lot of personal medical problems that are gruesome that I'm not going to share in detail without her permission. One night in her 7th month, there was an emergency and she was rushed to the hospital, and by 10:36 on May 5th, I made my grand entrance into the world. Born 2 months premature, weighing in at only 3 pounds, 6 ounces, and only 16 inches in height. I was the size of a baby doll. There are 2 jokes about me being a preemie. The first one: even as a fetus, Jamie was too impatient to wait. She was 2 months early. The other joke is my original due date was July 4th, Independence Day. And while I am pretty independent, July was also my brother's birthday, and I didn't want to share a birthday month with him. So instead, I hijacked my parents' birthday and their wedding anniversary. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Due to being a preemie, I spent my entire first month naked in the NICU in the hospital away from my parents. Mom and Dad went home without me, and I stayed in the hospital with the doctors and staff who wanted me to get stronger and healthier. Mom and Dad came visit me every day while I was in NICU. At birth or around that time frame, I was misdiagnosed with the condition of a connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but more on the discovery of the misdiagnosis later. I never knew much about it due to the fact that 6 to 8 months of age I got diagnosed with scoliosis, and the Ehlers-Danlos genetic work got put on the back burner because they wanted to focus more on the severe diagnosis of scoliosis and didn't want my entire childhood to be spent in and out of hospitals and wanted me to have a normal childhood. Shortly after coming home in my 2nd month, like 1 or 2 weeks later, I ended up back in the hospital because I wasn't keeping any food down. I was throwing it back up and ended up diagnosed with a condition called pylori stenosis. Pylori stenosis is a condition in infants in which the narrowing of the opening from the stomach to the small intestine, from the stomach to the small intestine, thereby preventing food from entering the small intestine, can be dangerous or life-threatening if untreated. It's very rare, fewer than 20,000 cases per year in the U.S. It's more common in males. Oh look, I'm already a medical anomaly. I had an emergency surgery to correct the pylori stenosis, but it proved later on that my stomach problems would not get better, meaning I may not have pylori stenosis anymore, but I still had a lot of crazy stomach episodes. One of my grandma's favorite memories, which my grandmother is no longer alive, God rest her soul, was I was a baby and my arms were too weak to hold my bottle, so I held them with my feet. My grandpa, her husband, who I called Puppy, he saw that and he looked at me and just goes, "She's going to be just fine in life." So yeah, that was one of her favorite stories. And actually how she'd introduced me to everyone we'd meet. "This is my youngest grandbaby. She has many disabilities," but that never stopped her, and goes into the story. And as I got older, I would be like, "Okay, Mommy, you're embarrassing me. That's enough with the story." But now that she's gone, what I wouldn't give to hear that story one more time. Irony. Sometimes during infancy, we would change pediatricians after the doctor was a total jerkwad. I was laying on the table, just being a baby, cooing and such, and Mom asked him what he saw or something like that, and he goes, "You can just look at her and tell she isn't normal." After that appointment, Mom called Dad and said we were switching pediatricians ASAP. She has always been my biggest advocate. She felt, this is her normal. No one is the same. Everyone has their own normal. Everyone was made different to be different, whether it be race, disabled, able-bodied, nationality. She has passed that hatred of the word normal onto me, and I think it should be erased from society. Fast forward to 6 to 8 months of age. My mom and my in-home physical therapist noticed my spine looking like it was curving, scoliosis. Mom took me to the pediatrician, and I was referred to an orthopedic in New Orleans. The orthopedic would flip-flop between surgery immediately or wait till I started walking. Every time we went, the answer would change from one to the other. Fast forward to when I'm about 1 or so, we are on our way to New Orleans for an appointment, and Dad was stopped by a state trooper for speeding. I know, bad Dad for speeding. The state trooper happened to be a member of the Shriners organization. If you don't know what the Shriners are, it's an organization that is non-profit and has hospitals for children with orthopedic impairments and conditions, rare conditions. They have a research center, and some have burn units for patients who have been burned. Patients receive free health care if they don't have insurance. Relies completely on kindness of donations. It's a great organization. Anyway, the trooper asked, "What's the hurry, sir?" Dad explains how I have scoliosis and we're on our way to New Orleans for an appointment, and we left a little late. The trooper looks in the back seat and sees me with my scoliosis self and hands Dad a card for the Shriners Hospital for Children in Shreveport, in case we ever want a second opinion. And lets Dad go with just a warning, no ticket. The only time Dad ever got away with no speeding ticket, and it was because of me. Oh God, that was obnoxious. After another appointment with Dr. Flippity Flop, as I call him, Mom decides to seek a appointment with Shriners. She uses the card that we were given and calls. The Shriners come out and evaluate me, do all the intake paperwork, measuring the curve of my spine, taking pictures, testing my reflexes, blah, 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 all that stuff. I ended up having surgery through Shriners of Shreveport at a different hospital. It was right next door. I can't remember the name of it. At 2 years old, and continued to see Shriners every 6 months until I was about 17. For surgery, they took a rib from my side, which I don't remember what side anymore, and I sure as heck ain't gonna lift my shirt on camera to show y'all the scar and my flabby stomach, to fuse my spine. And what was supposed to happen was, as my spine would grow with my body, it was supposed to straighten itself out. Well, as usual, my body did not cooperate. My spine apparently didn't get the memo that it was supposed to grow, because it stayed right where it was fused. My arms and legs grew, but my torso did not. And my spine decided to end up curving in another spot. So now my spine looks like an S, and I have 2 curves called kyphoscoliosis instead of scoliosis. Kyphosis is multiple curves, and scoliosis is just one curve. Scoliosis causes hunching over, humpback, like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, like Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I think he had more problems. And what's ironic is, when I was 5, that was when the movie first came out, and I pointed to the screen. I said, Mom, he has a back like me. Fast forward to 6th grade, where I'm getting bullied, and that was one of the nicknames. And I'm crying and screaming, don't call me that! Yeah. But, looking back on it now, yeah, the name's hurtful, but in the movie, Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, he was such a kind soul and such a good heart that, thinking about it, that's actually not a bad thing to be called. I mean, that's what we should be striving to be as humans. Have good hearts and be good people. Anyway, that'll be another rant. Okay, after surgery I had to wear a cast that I could not take off. It was hot and itchy, and the only way to get relief was Dad taking a vacuum cleaner nozzle, sticking it in the cast, and blowing air inside to relieve the heat and itching. And as a toddler, I thought that was just funny, and I giggled and clapped and enjoyed it. Then after the cast, I had to wear a back brace, which I called my body jacket, that I can only take off for bath time and after eating. Only because I would have stomach aches, and it was hard to digest food with a brace squeezing against my stomach. There are funny stories regarding my back brace. One of them, Mom came up with this fun game. The back brace had Velcro straps on the back. She'd pick me up by the straps and carry me sideways like a suitcase. And I just thought it was fun dangling in the air. It was like I was flying. I always begged her, let's play the suitcase game. Meanwhile, other people probably saw that and thinking it was child abuse. I don't know. I can't read other people's thoughts, but people get so uptight about stupid stuff nowadays. So no telling. The other funny incident was how I'd magically Houdini myself out of the brace. Mom would put me to bed in it, and then in the morning, I was magically out of it. She never knew how I was escaping. Till one day, we were going somewhere. I was asleep in my car seat. She swears by this to this day. I sat up in my sleep, undid the Velcro straps in my sleep, tucked my arms inside the brace, and pushed it off of me in my sleep. Now, how she kept me in the brace after that, I have no idea. Personally, I'd have padlocked it, although that might warrant as child abuse. I also found out recently that in preschool, my teacher would give me many frequent breaks and let me out of my brace. Yes, I was very spoiled in preschool. No wonder I didn't want to leave when it was time to start kindergarten. I was in early intervention preschool, as that was the only option for preschool back in the days. Early intervention is mostly for people with disabilities and special needs. That was my first exposure to other disabilities and special needs individuals. I was in preschool from ages 3 and 4, and they wanted to keep me an extra year, but Mom and Dad said, no, she's 5, she's starting kindergarten on time, like all the other 5-year-olds. And I was in mainstream classes after that, except for adaptive PE. And in elementary PE, they always found something for me to do when I wasn't in adaptive PE, even if that meant walking the track, or in my case, start walking the track, get distracted by butterflies or flowers until the PE coach is like, Jamie, you're supposed to be walking. Then I'd resume walking, probably with wildflowers in my hair. I was a weird child. But in junior high and high school, they didn't let me take part. They were too worried about liabilities. So on days I didn't have PE, I just sat on the bench. I also had resource/study skills, which is kind of like tutoring, I guess. Except they pulled me out of class to work on subjects I struggled with. or work ahead of the class so I got extra exposure. And if I wasn't struggling in class, puzzles, problem-solving skills, stuff like that. Then once a month they took me out for physical therapy and occupational therapy, or they did in the back of the class for an hour, depending on the therapist and their preference. I had a semi-regular childhood. I tried t-ball when I was 5, but quit halfway through when my back would hurt from the fact I can't run well, and then when I did try to run, it sent shockwaves up my spine. That and the Louisiana summer heat. It's too hot. I'm too sweaty. This isn't fun anymore. God, I was a brat. I was also in Girl Scouts until 4th grade. And one of the top cookie sellers, thank you very much. But that's not very hard when you're a social butterfly and know most of your town. But we had to stop Girl Scouts because Mom was troop leader and she started working full time. And no one wanted to take over as troop leader. Boo. I was also very involved in our church. In 2nd grade, I joined the church choir. Why? Since I know I can't sing worth a crud. But I had fun and made lots of friends. I attended a Bible study thing at a different denomination at the Opelousas Bible Church called Awana on Friday nights, and we would sing songs, play games, and do Bible verses. I made lots of friends there as well. I attended Awana until 6th grade, when I decided I wanted to go to the skating rink every weekend instead. In 3rd grade, I had love, which, what does a kid know about love and someone stealing your heart? That lasted until 5th grade when he decided to break up with me at church choir practice. Yeah, that's not a good memory. He could have at least waited till the end of practice, not at the beginning, because I ended up locking myself in the bathroom, crying my eyes out, missing the entire practice. But I forgive him. I hold no resentment towards him because he had a lot going on in his home life during that time. In 4th grade, I started slacking off in school and not doing my best. And it all started because the summer before, I had been warned about the state test. It can hold you back if you don't pass the state test, even if you have good grades on your report card. So I counted myself out before I even took the dang test. I was all, well, what's the point of trying? I know I'm not going to pass the test. I just know it. So I started doing the bare minimum and passing by the skin of my teeth. And I did pass the test, shocking. And I passed by the skin of my teeth until 11th grade, until an incident in 11th grade made me change all that. In junior high, I became an altar server at our church for a few years, until an incident where I almost fell working on the altar because my stability and balance were getting worse. Even though I didn't want to give it up, Mom and Dad both advised it. Also in junior high, me and a few friends joined our church youth group and remained in it till we graduated high school. Those were some of the best memories, especially going to the retreats. Although I could kick my friends' butts because I was always the first one to sleep and they'd always slumber me. I woke up one time with toothpaste on my hand and got it all over my face. I don't remember what else. Yeah, they always got me because I was the first one to sleep. Yeah, but I know they love me. They would. I was mad at the time, but I realize now that picking and teasing is a form of love language. So, yeah. I think I would have learned that sooner growing up with my dad, but yeah, it took 33 years to figure that out. Let's see. We also became lectors, readers at church in Mass. Because my friends wrote me into it. I have dreaded stage fright, and still do to this day. It takes a lot for me to talk in crowds. One-on-one, I'm fine. But being the center of attention, meh. Especially if I'm put on the spot. Thankfully, reading at church, I had time to practice. My voice still shook a little bit. Anyway. On to the math situation. I've always had a hard time with math. Math and me just don't mix. Well, in 11th grade, I had to take Algebra 2, and I struggled in the beginning. I was failing it. My teacher even called my mom. She said, "Miss Cormier, I'm fearing Jamie's going to fail his class. She's struggling big time." This was my resource teacher. Well, Dad has always said, Jamie needs to get the math ahead of time, get more exposure to it, and then she'll understand it. Well, thanks to Dad, with his brilliant idea, Mom suggested to the resource teacher. She got my stuff ahead of time. I was able to turn it all around. Got all my quality points I needed, right? That's great. Well, Jamie, who's Miss Social Butterfly and likes to plan parties, and her birthday just happens to fall the last 6 weeks of school, what is she doing instead of what she needs to in class? She's planning a party that she didn't even get because I ended up getting an F the last 6 weeks of school and failed the class. Now, after all that hard work, after I struggled in the beginning and then turned it all around, I fucked it all up. Excuse my language. But it was a learning experience. Now, my teachers could have just passed me by committee. But no, they said I needed to learn this lesson. They didn't make me go to summer school. I could have my summer. They would have me repeat it the following year, my senior year. But my principal warned me, "You can bet I'm going to be watching your grades, little girl." He called me little girl because he had been at that school since my brother was in high school. So he knew our family pretty well. So now that I had someone in the school watching my grades, I got serious. I set timers for breaks while doing homework. Less party planning, less social media. I ended up with a GPA over 3.0, something that had stopped happening since 4th grade. And it helped me get organized and ready for college. I graduated together with my class in 2009 and started college the following fall at LSU Eunice. I stopped seeing Charlotte Hospital at 17 with the final decision of nothing else can be done without paralyzing her. They discharged me because I would be over 18 next time. And this Charlotte Hospital, well, they all do now, except special circumstances, they only see children. Some will take them until they're about 21 or a little bit older. It just depends on the hospital. But technically, Shriners is just for children. However, when I got discharged, they didn't recommend an adult orthopedic to follow my case. So I went 2 years without an orthopedic following my case, and my back possibly continuing to get worse. We don't know for sure. In 2010, Mom's starting to worry because no one's following my case on my back. And we had heard great things about this local orthopedic in our town. So we make an appointment, we go in, do the x-rays. This dude looks at my x-ray, and he's chuckling. He's like, "This looks like a roller coaster." Meanwhile, I just looked at him and said, "Try living with it." He laughed and he goes, "This is above my expertise, but if this was my child, this is who I go to." And he recommended 2 doctors, both out of state. One in New York, and one that was in St. Louis, but is also in New York now. The one in St. Louis was closer. He was also president of Scoliosis Foundation that year. He was a professor at Washington University Medical School in St. Louis. And he had patented some of the instruments used in surgeries. And he handled complicated cases like mine. The one in New York didn't have as much info available. So besides it being closer, we chose St. Louis. My local orthopedic sent the referral, and within 6 months I get in. And usually referrals sometimes take up to a year. So that was a blessing. In January 2011, I went up for a consultation in St. Louis. Just based on the x-ray, the doctor said, yes, that can definitely do a surgery. And the way he explained it is all surgeries have risks. And yes, there is a risk of getting paralyzed by the surgery. But if I didn't get treatment, my spine would keep curving until my spine would eventually collapse. And I might end up in a wheelchair paralyzed anyway, but with more health problems. So I look at it this way. Paralyzed by surgery with less health problems. Paralyzed because I didn't do surgery and having more health problems and probably close to dying. Surgery wins. Meanwhile, Dad originally thought it was just for vanity reasons. Although he got a karma moment right before surgery. He didn't even realize how bad my back was because I looked like a healthy kid. I mean, yeah, I had a huge hump, but anyway, Dad originally thought it was for vanity reasons, and it's like, come on, Dad, I'm 20-something. How long you been knowing me? When do I care about vanity? Do I wish I had a back that didn't stick out and scare little kids? Yeah. But, no, this isn't for vanity reasons. Anyway, he never realized how bad my back was, because I was acting like a typical child, or a young adult. Anyway, the doctor made a model of my spine right before surgery, and he's showing it to my parents. My dad, these are his exact words, quoted my mom because I was already in the back being prepped for surgery. Dad looks at the spine and goes, holy crap, that was in my child? Yeah, Dad. So, after that, he realized the severity of why I needed the surgery. Anyway, at the consultation meeting, me and Mom cried after he told us we could do surgery, because originally we were told we couldn't have surgery without paralyzing me. They didn't even want to risk it. And now here's this doctor saying I could have a surgery. Mom and I cried our eyes out in the bathroom like two big babies. Happy tears. We were given our hope back. In December 2011, which was supposed to be the pre-op trip, was less sugar sweet. 12 long hours. First MRI and CT radiology with a butthole who had 0 patience, which is kind of ironic since he works in a children's hospital. But, whatever. So, I'm laying on a metal table, trying to do the MRI work. Got this huge ass hump on my back, on a hard metal table, and they expect me to hold still for an hour to do an MRI. I'm trying my best to hold still, but I had to move. I thought he would notice. Oh, the slightest movement. Stop moving! So, eventually we get it done. Next was blood work. Yeah, first dealing with radiology, butthole. Now I've become a human pincushion. Yeah, that's fun. Then, next I had to do what's called a pulmonary function test. That was hard, and I never knew why it was so hard until the doctor told me the results. Turns out my lungs were being crushed by my spine, and I was only functioning at 18 to 20% lung capacity. Yeah, that would explain why I was always out of breath. So then we do the x-rays, and the doctor sees all this, and he also realized my ribs were actually twisted around my spine. So he would have to break ribs just to get access to my spine. So because my ribs are twisted around my spine, and he knew he'd have to break ribs, which that's already going to affect breathing. My lungs are only functioning at 18 to 20%. He's a little more hesitant because I could die. I mean, I'm already getting cruddy oxygen to my brain, which would explain so much. Anyway, he explains I could be in traction up to a year and still possibly not have a surgery. So, 12 long hours before I even see the doctor. Then he gives me that bombshell. So, I'm depressed. I'm pissed off. I'm ready to slap somebody. So, the next day, we go to what's called a familiarity visit at Shriners Hospital, because that's where I would be doing my traction stay. His care coordinator, Joetta, God bless her, she was a godsend. I gave her a hard time, but I love her. She encouraged me that day. She said, we'll get your numbers up and you'll have that surgery. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, well, the doctor doesn't seem to think so, but okay. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to Halo Traction, mostly because I was going to be up there by myself. Mom would come visit, but I was going to be doing this by myself. I mean, I had the staff and stuff like that, but that was the first time I'd ever do anything strictly by myself. So, yeah, I was scared. I was going to be miles from home, miles from my friends and family, miles from my pets, miles from everything familiar. So, I was already kind of dreading it until I saw the rec room. That rec room, it was huge. Now it's small because they moved hospitals. But I was also excited because I had to do what's called a weekly project. And some of it could include cooking and just other stuff. Well, I figured, hey, I can learn how to cook. And then I also saw a piano. No, I didn't learn how to play piano. So I said, do y'all know anybody that teaches guitar? And I took guitar lessons while I was up there. Now, did I keep up with it? No. Which I'm kicking myself in the butt for. But, anyway. I don't do well with change, so I dealt with it. I did the Halo Traction. Even though at first I was depressed because Mom was leaving me. I was going to be by myself. Anyway. In January 2012, I started my Halo journey, trying to escape out of it the first few weeks. Now, I couldn't escape the Halo because the Halo is fused into your head, with 2 pins right here and 2 in the back. And Dad called these my devil horns, which, asshole. Yeah, and every day you had to clean the pin sights, and oh, that was such a pain to do. Especially toward the end, because I was in it for 7.5 months. I was starting to get scar tissue around the pins, so when I'd clean it, it was extra tender. Oh, that was brutal. Anyway, more on how I try to escape out of it. What they do is, you have the Halo fused into your head, and then they have a strap at the top of the Halo that has a little ring, and then they'd attach you to a walker or a wheelchair if you couldn't walk, with a clip hook that would attach the ring and then it would have weighted bags, and it'd stretch you. Yeah, I know that sounds like torture, but as you get used to it, you prefer to be in the traction because you're so stretched up. It actually takes pressure off your back. And when they'd unhook you, you'd slump back down. Oh, toward the end, it hurt my neck so bad. I had to be very gentle when I'd unhook. I got so good at it, I got to the point where I could unhook myself. Anyway, first few weeks, just like everything else, I don't do well with change. So, I could reach up, pull the hook, and clip it, and escape out of it. Well, I got flushed so many times, because it's like, you're not going to get better by getting out of traction. But, yeah, we actually did, for physical therapy while I was in traction, I had to walk on the treadmill with the traction. They had a pulley device near the treadmill, so they could still do the weighted bags while you're walking on the treadmill. Yeah. Well, fast forward, I don't know, I'm in traction maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And the respiratory director comes in to watch me do my IF. That thing they give you where you have to breathe and try to get the little doodad to move. Yeah, well, the respiratory director is this little short Colombian woman named Marcella. Well, she's watching me and she's like, no, you're doing it wrong, dude. And she's telling me how to do it, and I'm trying to do her way. And I'm getting frustrated. So, later that night, one of the people that work under her they come in to do my respiratory. And I just look at them and I say, thank God it's not Marcella. That's like Hitler of the respiratory department. Because, I mean, I'm still on the pain meds because I'm still recovering from them drilling in my head to put the halo. So, think about it. Somebody who already didn't have a filter and then on a heavy pain medication, yeah, not a good mix. Anyway, this person goes back and tells Marcella what I had said. So, guess who's at the foot of my bed the next morning with a big ass grin on her face? That's right, Marcella. I wake up, see her. At first I have a jump scare. I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh, she's in here. And so she's just smiling. And she just looks at me. She goes, you think I'm Hitler? And I'm just sitting there like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. Yeah, she was my wake-up call the next week. And did my respiratory every time for that week. Yeah, karma's a bitch. Anyway, I want to say probably a week or two after that, I had what's called, hang on, let me get a drink. Anyway, a couple weeks after that, I'm down in the cafeteria. Because I'm over 18, I have a green bracelet, I can go wherever I want in that hospital without telling the nurses or having a nurse escort. I had just finished physical therapy and also had just finished a session with the psychologist. Yes, we had to do psychology appointments just to kind of keep our mental health in check, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I had just finished my appointment with the psychologist. She was getting ready to go down to the cafeteria for lunch. So I was like, oh, I'll join you for lunch. I didn't tell the nurses where I had went. So, Joetta, Dr. Linky's care coordinator, is looking for me upstairs. Finally, she comes down, and she happened to pass the cafeteria, and she sees me. She comes in, she's like, little girl, I've been looking all over for you. And I decided to just joke back with her. I said, and apparently I've been avoiding you. Yeah, I gave them trouble. In fact, that's why Joetta nicknamed me Trouble. Yeah. Toward the end of my stay, every day I'd go downstairs to where Joetta worked, the clinic area. And I'd sneak through the back of the clinic and just sneak up behind her, put my hand behind her, and go, guess who? She'd turn around, Trouble! Yeah. I celebrated my 21st birthday over there, actually. I got a overnight pass. Originally, they had said I could go home, but when they tried to do insurance, insurance didn't want to cover the Halo equipment, because I would have had to bring the Halo equipment home. So, it turned into a no. But Mom and Dad still made it special. They brought my brother, his girlfriend, one of my best friends, and one of my cousins. The cousin that I am extremely close to. We went out, and I had my first legal drink, chocolate martini, and got tipsy off my ass. And it wasn't just the drink. See, the chocolate martini had a piece of Godiva chocolate at the bottom. Well, I didn't realize that the longer it sits in a drink, it absorbs the alcohol. So, I drank my martini first, instead of digging out the chocolate and setting it aside. It sits in that cup full of liquor the entire time. Finally, I eat the piece of chocolate. That piece of chocolate is what did me in. I could not walk. I was already off balance because of the halo. And, yeah, let's add liquor. I'm wobbling. Dad's trying to hold me steady. Yeah. That was interesting. The next day we went to something called the Butterfly House. It's a place that has all these different types of butterflies. And Mom swears by this, even though we don't have a picture, that a butterfly landed on my halo. So, fast forward to 2012, my first surgery in August. He had to break 10 ribs. And I think there's only 12 in the human body. Yeah. So, originally, I had gotten my pulmonary numbers up. I had doubled them. They were almost at 40% before surgery. So, yeah, we thought we'd be okay. Right before surgery, he had told me that he was still 99.9% sure that I was going to end up with a trach, but we try it without the trach first. So, after surgery, I'm doing well up until the Friday after. I developed pneumonia. I pull out my breathing tube while sedated. So, yeah. Then I end up with the trach, right? I end up getting a mucus plug in the trach and having a seizure. I thought I had just fell asleep. No, I wake up, Mom's eyes are huge. She looks terrified. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, you just had a seizure. And then they pull out the big ass mucus plug that was in my trach, and they're like, oh, this is why. So, after they told me I had a seizure, I did not want to go to sleep. I was scared to go to sleep. I stayed up until 3 a.m. the next day, and I'm watching TV, trying to stay awake, and Mom's like, you need sleep to heal. So the nurses ended up having to give me sleeping medication because I was so scared of having another seizure. Anyway, if the trach wasn't plugged, like they had a little cap you could put on it, and if it wasn't on tight, if I would cough or breathe hard, it'd shoot across the room. Not the trach itself, but the cap. And poor Mom had to chase it so many times. While in the hospital, they discovered I have something called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome is an access pathway in the chambers of your heart. So, when I got home, I went to see a cardiologist and had an ablation in 2013 for it. While still in St. Louis, I had very interesting dreams. Let's just say medication plus lack of TV aren't a good mix. Poor Mom never knew what was going to come out of my mouth. There was a time I thought I was dying. Dad, always, first thing he'd do when he'd walk in my room is check my oxygen numbers. Well, he got me into that habit when he wasn't there. So, one day they're turning me over, and I didn't realize they had unplugged the pulse ox. Well, try to look at my oxygen. There's a big ass question mark. So, I had the trach, but it wasn't capped, so I couldn't talk. When I tried to talk, all that would come out was air through the hole. So, I had a notepad, and I wrote, I'm dying, with a question mark. And Mom's just looking at me like, you're dying? What are you talking about? The pneumonia is clearing up. Last week I would have said, yeah, maybe, but what are you talking about? So, she sees my eyes dart to the pulse ox, and she sees the question mark, and she just busts out laughing, and she's like, no, you're unplugged, see? Later, we were retelling that story to one of the therapists, and he goes, yeah, if you would have been dying, that would have been a flat line. Yeah. I had a full-on meltdown one day after therapy, because I had so much equipment. Because they had the oxygen tanks they had to carry, because I had a nasal cannula. There was just so much that they had to take and get in and out of the room when I had therapy. So they had to move my bed to the side. Well, we finished therapy, they put me back in bed, and they're trying to get me straight. Well, I'm so out of it because I'm still on heavy-ass pain medication. The only way I could tell if I was straight was looking up at the ceiling, and if everything was in a straight line, I was straight, right? Well, the bed's still sideways, so nothing is lining up on the ceiling. Yeah, so they asked me if I'm straight. Now, if I wouldn't have been drugged, I would have made a, yeah, I'm straight kind of joke about sexuality type thing. But I was heavy on pain medication, so I wasn't thinking clearly. Anyway, so nothing looks straight, so I think I'm still not adjusted right. So I go, no. Okay, they adjust me some more. How about now? No. Try again. How about now? No. By that third time, I'm frustrated. And I just start crying my eyes out. And I'm like, I just want to lay in the bed like a normal person! Just crying and frustrated. And the therapist is looking at Mom like, help. And Mom's trying to calm me down. She's like, Jamie, we'll get this. Breathe. So she notices as I'm laying back, trying to compose myself, I'm just... And she sees my eyes looking at the ceiling. And she looks the way she turns like the bed is. And she realizes, I don't know how she got it, but she did. And she's just like, Jamie, the bed's not straight. You're straight. The bed's not. So they adjust the bed. And the therapist is like, how about now? Are you straight? And I just go, yeah. And I'm just laughing at this point. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just had that meltdown. Yeah. Oh, and right before I get discharged, this is close to the end, we go take a walk around the gift shop. And at this gift shop, they have this fish tank. And I'm watching the fish, and there's two fish. One fish is chasing the other. And I just start laughing. And I'm on less pain medication, so I'm starting to think like my old self. And I'm just like, I bet that that fish is male and he's trying to rape the female. I'm out in the public setting near the gift shop at a children's hospital saying that. So the therapist is freaking out. He's like, Jamie, you can't say stuff like that. So I'm just laughing and thinking it's funny. Well, we get back to my room, and I had this gel pillow, and I don't remember what it was for. It was this tiny little gel pillow, handful. And the therapist picks it up and he says, doesn't this look like a breast implant? And I'm just looking at him. I'm like, you just fudged me about the whole fish tank thing, and now you're over here talking about boob implants. He's like, the difference is, you're over age, this is your personal room, and that is where children are. And I'm just like, whatever, hypocrite. He just started laughing. Okay, so September 20th, I had my second surgery. And that was less. I mean, the first surgery was like 12 plus hours. This one was 8 or less. I ended up with a pressure sore on my back because they weren't turning me enough. Well, one day, the doctor does his rounds in the morning, right? Well, one day he's running late, and he's rushing to do his rounds. So he has to turn me over to look at my back, check the scar, check the pressure sore, all that stuff. Well, he's rushing, so he pulls the sheet really quickly, and I just flop. It didn't hurt or nothing, it just put me in shock. And I'm just like, he walks out, and I look at Mom, I said, I feel like a pancake, he just flipped me. Yeah, lots of interesting episodes from that hospital. When I get home just in time for Halloween. I think it was October 10th or October 12th. Anyway, I had a new idea for my old Twinkle Fairy costume because I had to wear a neck brace because they wanted to keep my neck in the same position for a while to let the fusion take hold, right? Well, I'm wearing the neck brace. I'm in a wheelchair. So I said Twinkle Fairy got smashed by a car. Because that's how I felt. I felt like I got ran over by a car. Anyway, when I got home, I still had the Wolf Parkinson White. I had the pressure sore. I had a fast heart rate called tachycardia. And I still had the trach. So I had to go see a pulmonologist, a cardio doctor, and wound care. Pulmonologist realized I was still desatting and losing oxygen at night, so we had to do a sleep study. Well, now I sleep with a BiPAP, thank you very much, because I had symptoms of sleep apnea. Not actual sleep apnea, just symptoms of it, because the way he explained it is my lungs were crushed for so long that they adapted to a certain way. It wasn't like how usual sleep apnea where the tongue goes into your throat, or I forgot what. It was so long ago he explained it. I had an ablation in 2013 for the Wolff Parkinson. I still have tachycardia, so I am on a medication to kind of keep control of that. I tried to watch my sugar intake, although y'all saw me drink a sip of Coke earlier. Yes, I'm a Coke fiend, but I have gotten a whole lot better than I used to be. I mean, I used to drink 2 of these a day, and now I just have sips of it. So, I'm getting better. I'm trying to. There's some days where when I'm hurting so bad, I just want to chug junk food. But, hey, I'm a human. I'm gonna slip and fall sometimes. Anyway, I still take medication to slow my heart tachycardia down. Wound care, got the pressure sore cleared up. So, in 2013, I resumed LSUE and graduated with my associates. In 2014, I went on to UL Lafayette, got my first apartment and lived on my own, and I had my first boyfriend, who he lived 2.5 hours away. I lost my Louisiana rehab funding for school because my GPA dropped because math is hard and I just struggled. I had to move back home in 2015 and pay for college with the Pell Grant and out of pocket. I didn't want to do the debt of student loans yet. In 2016, I woke up one night in agonizing pain. That started a two-year battle with a wound that refused to go away. Turns out I had a broken rod. In 2017, online dating and okay. So in 2017, Mom had to go on the truck with Dad. She had been teaching religion or something, and she needed me to cover her class that week by myself. And I'm just thinking, I can't do this. What if they don't take me seriously? I mean, and I'm just having all these doubts. And, well, they were learning about the virtues. Well, that week it was fortitude, which is doing it in fear. So, I did it, and it went okay. Yeah, they tried to take advantage and try to get me to just let them play around. And I said, look, if y'all don't behave, I'm just gonna go get Father and Miss Cindy and let them come teach y'all. Y'all, I'm done. So finally they stopped. But the next day, well, no, that night when I got home, I had been online dating. And this guy messages me, and he's like, hey, beautiful, da-da-da, sweet talking me, you know. And, so, I was like, hey, he wanted to take me on a date. So I said, hey, how about La Hacienda in Opelousas, public setting, you know. And I'm telling Mom, and she's like, Jamie, what did y'all just cover in religion class? Fortitude. Yes, you're scared, but do it in fear. Keep alert, though. So, anyway, in 2018, we ended up moving in together, and he proposed. Once it was discovered in 2019, the broken rod, I had a revision surgery. Turns out the rod had been infected, and I had to be on antibiotics for 2 years. Fiance and I moved into my parents' house in 2020, but he had to move back to his parents because he didn't hold down a job, and my parents were not happy with that. In 2021, my pain got worse after surgery, thought it was my Ehlers-Danlos, saw a geneticist, and ended up with the diagnosis of Marfan's syndrome. Not Martian, although I do feel like an alien sometimes. In 2022, I also had opportunities of public speaking on Guns Down, Power Up, and on Bully Box, A Passion Project. First was the Bully Box, with Sean Asias. That was interesting. It's a podcast type thing. They did a weekly show on Wednesday nights. I mostly just talked about some of my childhood experiences with bullying and how I would always defend the ones that really couldn't defend themselves. And then, a few weeks later, I had gone and talked to Guns Down, Power Up. That was more along the lines of my disabilities and how I overcame it and how you can do anything you put your mind to. Well, a week before I was going to talk to Guns Down, Power Up, I had hurt my ankle. I had fell or something, and so it ended up being soft tissue swelling, and I still get that pain sometimes from it. But, and then I am now VP of the Guns Down, Power Up board. In April 2023, I started a podcast to promote St. Landry Power's good news, like hidden gem restaurants, events, just trying to promote it. It's called Sugar, Spice, and Everything Nice St. Landry. And in July of 2023, me and my fiance broke up. My then fiance, he's now my ex. Currently, because of my podcast, I am networking more and more and meeting people that could help me accomplish some of my biggest dreams and passions. And it's just so mind-blowing how much God has blessed me. Yes, it was sad that me and my fiance couldn't work it out. But apparently he wasn't the one. I mean, just, it's so mind-blowing, some of these people I meet, and it's like, doors are opening. Sure, there are some days where the pain is so bad and depressing, I'm just ready to throw in the towel and give up and just, but I keep pushing because when I do my podcast and I network and talk to these people, I feel like my purpose is being done. I just have to have fortitude, perseverance, and patience. I'm eager to see what new adventures await, what doors will be opened, and how I can leave a positive mark on the world, because that is what we are meant to do. We are supposed to be trying to find our purpose, trying to help others, trying to be our best selves. I just take one day at a time. This is my life, my story, my journey, my twisted journey. Peace out.